Hey guys, it's been a while, but I'm back with another guitar project. This time I am working on a solo music bass kit. It is a P bass kit that I got a while ago, and I finished it. I did like a quick natural finish just because I needed it to record some demos. But now that I have some time, I want to go back and give this thing a really nice finish. So what I have planned for this project is a Reliced white P bass, the black pick guard. I have a nitro finish kit from Oxford Supply that I'm really excited to use. But first, I have to re-prep the guitar for the finishing process. So first up, I am going to sand off the finish I had on there and plug up the pickguard holes because I have a new pickguard coming. And then once we're done that, I think we move on to the second step, which is applying the sanding sealers. So let's get to it. Okay, when I said sanding sealer, I know you guys knew I meant grain filler. So that's what we're gonna do next is the grain filling with this Oxford Supply oil-based grain filler. Okay, so I have the grain filler done. That has to dry overnight. In the meantime, I'm going to work on to prepping the neck for the vintage amber yellow tone that I'm going to put on it just to help give it that old school look. Okay, so we got the grain filler on the body and it's drying overnight. I've sanded the neck. It's ready to go for the sanding sealer. We're actually ready to get to that stage now, but it's getting a little late at night and I don't really have time to set up like a spray area, so I'm gonna do that tomorrow. Another random thought that I just had, and you might have noticed, so I just want to address it right now. I'm going for like the vintage relic look, but I have a rosewood fretboard, not a maple one. But you know what? I don't care. Whatever. It is what it is. So I'm gonna have to leave it there for now, and we will hop back into this for me tomorrow. For you, a couple seconds. Okay, so it's the next day. The grain filler is dried, so we can move on prepping the neck and body for the sanding sealer. So yeah, I got to sand down the body and then mask up the neck, and we'll be good to go for that. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show the actual spraying of the sanding sealer due to the setup in my garage. It's just tight, not a lot of space. So you'll just have to trust I did it. I know most of you are going to be disappointed. That's probably why you're here in the first place, is to see the sanding sealer. I apologize. So yep, let's keep moving with the build. It took a couple days, but everything's ready. I grain filled the body, put sanding sealer on the body and the neck. So they are both now prepped for the next stage, which is the color coats. So the body's gonna have a Arctic white finish, and I'm gonna put some amber color on the neck just to kind of give it a bit of an aged look. So let's get spraying.
One hour later. One hour later.
Well, now that we have the 4 coats of color done, we can move on to the clear coat. I am once again using Oxford Supply Nitrocellulose Lacquer for the finish, and it recommends 6 to 9 coats of lacquer to get the vintage thin finish that I'm looking for. So that will take me a couple days because it also recommends only doing 4 coats a day, an hour apart. So I have a couple days of work ahead of me. I will spare you watching it in detail, and I'll probably just show you the first couple coats and then do the fast forward trick. And for you, it'll be instantaneous, a couple seconds. For me, it's going to take about 48 hours to complete this next step.
And so on, and so on, and so on. You know how these things go.
make sure that there's no myocarditis at play here. So he's got to go through some fitness testing to pass a physical again, basically, to make sure that he can physically exert himself to go play in a football game again.
Didn't you get the sense, the way, like his tone when he answered that he's not playing this week?
Yeah, he had the big before he answered, right?
Yeah, I think he said, and they asked if he could. And I could. Like, I don't know. I took that as I have him on one of my fantasy teams. I immediately put him on the bench. We'll see.
Let's get right down to the real passion. As we'll get into that coming up next. On In the Box on TSN 1200. Well, there was that, but also part of it was.
Okay, now that we have the color and the clear coat on the body and the neck, I have to set those aside for a couple weeks and let them cure. So in the meantime, I'm going to work on the next step, which is relicing the hardware. To do that, I'm going to use muriatic acid and soak the hardware in a tub for a little bit. This is kind of a, dangerous process. So if you're going to do it, just make sure you're doing all the research. This isn't a tutorial, so I'm not going to go through every step. Big D Guitars has a good video on it, and there's lots of information on the internet. But I will say, if you're going to do this, make sure you have gloves, a mask. You're working in a well-ventilated area. I have my garage doors open, and I'm going to have a fan blowing as well. Long sleeves, long pants, so like as little exposed skin as possible, and just be as careful as possible when you're working with stuff like this. And the first step though is I'm using chrome hardware, and I read that it doesn't age well as nickel. So one thing you can do is rub it down with some sandpaper first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with that, and then we'll get into using the muriatic acid to age the hardware.
It's muted somewhat, but the Chargers, the Bills, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Bengals, the Broncos all have 5 wins. So it's pretty crazy how close it is and what these games are going to mean. And you look to the weekend now coming up where those teams are involved. Cleveland's in New England this week. Both teams. Yeah, especially could be. It doesn't matter what line is up, but when you provide that opportunity to the.
So I rinsed off the hardware after leaving in the muriatic acid for a while, and as you can see, there's still a little scuffed up, but they lost a lot of the discoloration and the shininess came back. So I'm going to do another round off camera and maybe leave it overnight and let it dry on its own before rinsing. See if that keeps some of the aging better. So fast forward, and hopefully I will have some completely reliced or aged hardware.
The next day.
And here we are. I did a couple more passes at the muriatic acid, and things kind of went 0 to 60 on me pretty quickly. I wasn't really getting the effect I wanted, so I kept putting it back in. Then all of a sudden, like, the bridge came out with like this like reddish rusty color. Kind of turned out pretty cool. I took it apart to wipe it down. The saddles and stuff are over there. Put that back together afterwards, but What else? See, the knobs, the sides turned out a little aged. Tops not so much. There's a bit of aging to them. The grommets, whatever these things are called, again, not too much. But the tuners turned out pretty cool. They also got some of that reddish rust color on them. I don't know if I needed to do the scuffing up with the sandpaper. I don't know how much of an effect it had, except to leave sandpaper scratches on the hardware. But overall, I'd say this was successful. Maybe a little bit too much of an effect, way more than I was expecting. But I was expecting it to turn, like, everything to turn out more like this, just kind of a bit dull. But you know, just a little bit of an extreme aging. At this stage, all I have left to do is wait for the lacquer to finish curing. And when it does, we can get into polishing up and finishing up the finish, and then I can start relicing it. So, you know, getting it nice and pretty, just to turn around and ruin it. And then once that's done, basically all that we'll have left to do is put the kit back together, see how it looks, and see how it sounds. So thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Hit that like button, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff I have to say, and I will see you in the next